Hey buddy, hope y'all are doing all right. So this is a video that was inspired by David Nino Rodriguez. Sorry if I mispronounced that. And I've brought his name up a few times on my channel. I say usually, but I've brought his name up in few and far between. But I have talked about him in the past, and again, intuitively feeling and speaking, I think that there's a good possibility that in one way or another, one form or another, I'd like to see us. I'm hopeful that people like him and others, will all begin to network and to work with each other. I know he's a former. I think he's a former heavyweight champion. I know he's a former boxer. I'm not sure if he was actually. Forgive me. I don't know. I don't follow boxers' careers or anything like that, so I'm not privy to the details of how his career went in boxing. But I think he was a champion, if my memory serves me correctly. But I do know he fought in the heavyweights, the professional boxing league. So, and because of that, he got a lot of access to celebrities, and I don't know about a lot, but he got access to celebrities. And he was on another YouTube channel. I'm just giving you guys a brief intro into my knowledge of him and how I got to meet him, or online, that is. But he got introduced to celebrities, right? And upon meeting these celebrities and essentially getting to a new level of social access and information, he came upon the knowledge that I'd known before I seen his channel, but he just helped confirm it. And it's the fact that I call it a fact because I mean, even though I haven't seen it with my own eyes, it feels factual to me. But I really don't have the actual physical, tangible evidence to say it's a fact. So it's still just something I think is going on. And his words helped confirm that for me. And it's about the children, and it's about how these, certain of the families of, if you want to call them the elites, the Illuminati, shadow government, whatever they may be. I don't know exactly what label they choose to label themselves. So I just look at them as people who, are shooting for the other side of things, who are more aligned with the wicked agenda and, the destruction of life and humanity and killing of the earth and the plants and the animals and all that. That seems to be their MO. And, to further go upon that, going back to David Nino Rodriguez, and, my first time watching him was on somebody else's YouTube channel, and they brought him on their YouTube channel because he was talking about how when he started talking to these celebrities, somebody whom he had feel a good amount of trust in their word, told him that these families, these evil, wicked families and people, I don't know if they're all families right on it, but certain elements of this group, if not all of them in this particular group, value, human babies and the blood and the energy that comes from them, killing them, because there's, you guys have probably heard this. I'm gonna go and do it again. So, a lot of these malevolent ETs, and I think even human beings, they feed off of fear. So if that's your main food source, if that's your sustenance, if that's what gets you, essentially high, and that's your, drug of choice, people are always going to go for what the best they can get. So a child, a young human being, who's still very much, new to this world and this reality, they're very, they just haven't experienced very much, and they have a lot of purity, they have a lot of fear, they have a lot of needs and wants because they're a new life form that's growing. So when you're growing, you've got all these needs and wants and desires and things that help repel your growth, or they're there for a reason. You get hungry because you have to feel that hunger pain in order to motivate your ass to go and eat some food. When you touch something that hurts you, that pain is there to motivate you and teach you not to keep touching those things that hurt you. So, children, they have a lot of needs because they're growing and they're learning about the world, and because they haven't learned very much in this reality, they have, such a kind of a rambunctious energy to interact with everything because they're learning about things. And this is how we learn, is by interacting and experiencing, and taking those experiences and learning from the things that help us, and holding on to those and growing with those, and learning to push away and discard the things that we found don't help us. So anyway, and I think this is why these, certain families, they value these children more than they value gold. That was the statement that really got me, more interested into him, and helped confirm to my feelings and thoughts on what's going down on the earth. And my hat really went off to him for speaking up on such things, especially as somebody with a type of celebrity status. They're taking a lot of risk by speaking on these things that threaten these type of wicked organizations. And, so he was talking with, one of these celebrity peoples, and, they were just confirming, or they were telling him, which is now a confirmation to me and others, that, yeah, these people, their true currency, what they truly value as far as it comes to like material commodity, if you could even call, another creature a material, but I mean, we are made of matter, so we are materials, that's their gold. That's what they seek more than anything else on this planet, is the energy, the blood, the essence of young children. It is what it is, man. And because, the more fear that they're able to get out of these kids, the more that they're able to feed off of them. I think a lot of times these children are abused and tortured to horrible, horrible, horrible ends and means. And it's in that very pivotal and, climatic state of agony and fear that these people look for and seek to consume. So that's why they get children, because children are going to be more terrified than a full-grown human being, and children are also less tainted, with toxins, and they've put less stuff in their body. Their bodies are purer. They're more freshly from the womb than a full-grown human being is. So there's also an element of purity there that they're able to extract because they choose to target children. And I think that this is another reason why they choose to target children is the purity, both in just their presence and what they've done on this earth and their actual body. So it's just like how we like to eat, meat that's organic, and, there's also, I've heard about how, a lot of times, like, baby meat and stuff, like baby animals and stuff is supposed to be really good. Like Venice is like, isn't that what they call a baby deer? I've heard by people that it's really good, and I think a lot of that goes into, again, just the fact that these animals are in a pure state of being. They're not as old, they haven't been through as much, their body hasn't had as much wear and tear, their organs are in a better order, their energy is just a more innocent type energy, which then gives off more sustenance. So, these children are getting consumed and fed, to these, if you want to call them humans, but in order, to really be a human being isn't just having a human body. I think it's a whole way of character, and that's my personal opinion. The word being is to be as something. So in order to be a human being, you got to be acting like a human being and in accordance with what being a human being really is. And to me, it goes back to love and harmony with all life, because human beings are unique as every single animal is. And I think that we were uniquely created to be in the image and likeness of God. And God is, the Father, the Heavenly Father of us all, and He's the one who's got unconditional love for all of His children, and all life forms too, So I think that's how we are supposed to be. I think that's our strongest point is because we do have such a high capacity for love. I think it's also a reason why we've been targeted by, it's not just being targeted, it's also just who we are. That much love has to have some type of a counterforce to help it grow. So, it makes sense that because we are so loving and we have such, a large amount of ability to love within inside of ourselves, that we're going to draw something as foul and as wicked and as, from our perspective, evil, as the type of people, creatures, and entities that we have drawn to us. It's part of the game, man. As disgusting and sick and horrible as it is, and it is, and that's part of the game too, is acknowledging and not running from the fact that these type of things are happening. And most of the people in power are in on it. To whatever level or degree of involvement, I'm not sure, but I don't think you're able to really gain any type of real power in this world, in this government, in this way of doing things, unless you are, in on the secrets, and in on their playbook and in on their way of doing things. And which means if you're in on their way of doing things, that they're going to have a lock and key on you to make sure that you don't expose anything that's going to jeopardize them and their power. Which is why I think a lot of times celebrities are killed, or, whistleblowers are taken out, or just people who go against their contract that they sign with these people get killed. And I think certain musicians have been killed, maybe even actors, political figures, just activists in general. If you choose to go into that dark side and you find out some dark shit, and then you choose to expose that dark shit after you done already signed yourself over to them, I think this is what gets them killed. Because you're going against your chosen word and will to be a part of something that you now don't want to be a part of. And because you made that choice from the get-go to go into this dark alleyway and, deal with these nefarious characters and powers, there's a consequence to these things, man. However, I do think those that do choose to spill the beans and share the truth about what's going on, I think that is a huge redeeming factor when you pass on, and in the eyes of God. I think that the people that do choose to speak up, there's going to be a lot more, you could say mercy to their soul and the things that they've done and perpetuated than those that choose to just go on with this shit and not do anything about it. So my hat does go off to those that choose to speak up and out, in regards to the evil stuff that's going on, because I know that they're putting their own lives in jeopardy and they're putting their families' lives in jeopardy. They're taking a lot of huge risks, and they're only really doing it. I mean, most of these people that do it are already financially successful, so they're not doing it to get more finances and more resources. They're doing it to help spread truth, to help spread love, to help win this battle of good and evil that we're all in right now. So my hat goes off to those that do take that risk and have the courage to speak up and out, and also those that do something about it, because there's more that we can do about it besides speaking. I mean, obviously, speaking is just one very small aspect of human experience that gets a lot of attention, and for good reason. I mean, we all have mouths. We're very social creatures, and especially with the internet today, like you can spread, the type of information that you decide to perpetuate can have quite an effect. So, speech and communication is extremely important, but it's not everything. Action and application of that which you've learned and that which you speak upon is also a very important and imperative key to actually getting things done and changing things. And this brings me back to the point that I want to talk about with David Nino Rodriguez, because I think it was yesterday I watched his live stream, and I've kind of had this feeling for some time, but his own words confirmed the feeling that I had, and that's that he kind of jokingly said about it, but he was telling people, like, I hope you're prepared as well as you can. He's talking about, like, when the lights go out and, when shit hits the fan and there's, they've pulled the plug and they're trying to incite more chaos. Like, he thinks that there's going to be a time and place when, we do lose, our electrical powers. The food's not going to be there. The gas isn't going to be there. It's going to be so extravagantly priced that the normal person's not going to be able to pay for it. And thus chaos and anarchy is going to reign, and there's going to be riots all over the world, which may happen. I don't know. But he was talking in context to that actually happening. And he talked about how he, if that were to happen, because he talked about prepping and the fact that, like, he was like, I hope you prep to the best of your ability. And he kind of talked about how he had, but then he was like, well, actually, like, I kind of haven't. And his reasoning for not prepping as well as he could was because, and it's a thought that I've had too, it's like, if the world really does get to such a dire degree to where we're having to rely on our own individual preppings to survive, like, what type of reality is that going to be in? Like, do you really want to live in a reality that's like that? Because try to imagine it. It's really just you bunker down in your house or with a few close friends and families, and y'all are really just like staying in your houses, just trying to survive, isolated from the rest of the world. Like, it's not a very pleasant looking future for anybody, unless you just really that type of dude that's looking forward to that type of challenge. And maybe it's a whole family that likes it. And for them, then it is something they want. But for the majority of human beings, we don't want to live like that. That's not a fun way to live. It's not a healthy way to live. It's not good to grow your children in. It's not, the stress level that's you got to deal with every single day, waking up, having to ration out your food and worry about people thieving and robbing from you. And it's not going to be fun, man. So, he talked about how, if that, when that happens, essentially he's like, I don't want to be here, so from my perspective, it kind of looks like David, he's doing a great job spreading a lot of information and meeting people and having people on his panel that are very informative as to what's going on. But again, it goes back, for me, it goes back to the solution, and it's like, from his perspective, he's just like, he's kind of like almost given up on trying to solve the problem. He's doing a great job speaking on what's going on and all the problems that are going on. But in my opinion, and he's not the only one, I think a majority of people on the internet that I'm able to observe are spending most of their time talking about the problem and complaining about the problem rather than actually trying to brainstorm on solutions to the problem. And, like I said, it's something I've been suspecting for some time, concerning David. And again, I bring this up with David in particular because, as I mentioned, he's a boxer. When I look at his spirit, when I look at his person, like, I pick up on a very powerful warrior vibe. I get the vibe, I get the feeling that he's the type of dude that doesn't just back away from a fight, that is, doesn't, perhaps even enjoys a good challenge and a good fight. So when I hear people like him talking about how, hey, there's really, not much we can do, other than continue to say, the truth and all these things and kind of just wait for shit to hit the fan, that just irks me on a soul level. It does, man, to just think that, there's so many people here in America that don't agree with this evil regime. And there's so many solutions that we human beings can utilize and apply to ourselves and to the planet that can solve all of these problems. And the main reason why people aren't doing nothing about it, to me, it's largely because they, it does take somebody who's able to bring all of the different bridges together. It does take somebody with a lot of unconditional love who's willing to put themselves out into it's very social. Like, you got to be willing to socialize with everybody and listen to everybody and open to everybody's ideas. It takes that type of a heart. It takes the heart of somebody who really cares about the people on an individualistic level and also on a collective level, and is able to see the trajectory of where things are going, and has enough wit and information and motivation to try to figure out the things that we need to utilize that we've seen have good possibilities of working, and get those tools into the right hands to get things actually done. So it does take I feel like I keep wanting to say it. Anybody could do it. Like, why aren't more people doing it? But it really is like, forgive them for they know not what they know. They know not what they do. People just don't know what I know, just like I don't know what other people know. And for whatever reason, I seem to have this fire inside of me that just has a desire to want to change the whole world. And I feel very confident in my ability to do so. I know why I'm fighting this fight and why I'm here. I love doing it. I love trying to help humanity out. I love trying to help life out. I love having something to fight for that's good and worthwhile, and not, without the intentions of greed and manipulation and exploitation and extortation attached to the fight. I like to fight for things that are pure, some things that are beautiful, things that are good. And this is the purest, most beautiful and good fight that I've ever found, and I think could ever really exist, because it goes back, it's just the same good and evil fight, but right now we're living in such times where information is used in so many different ways that people, they've got they're pointing the fingers in all these different places, and instead of pointing, we need to start looking at ourselves. Like, what can we do? Like, you continue to point the finger, you're going to miss the point. It is what it is. Like, we already know these people are evil, especially people who watch David's channels and channels like him. Like, we've known about this for some time now. We've been in this COVID thing for over 2 years. Like, how much more proof do you guys need that this shit is for real? That they're really coming after us? That there really is a nefarious enemy behind the curtains of all these things, pulling all these different strings? And, it's now, how much more does it take? Like, again, that's why it goes back to the information's out there. We just need to start applying it. So especially in concerning to people like David, when I see him having thousands of people on his live streams each and every day, I just can't help but imagine how much more possibilities that could come from that type of an experience. Like, y'all could easily, you can make a video and just title it like brainstorming ideas, brainstorming areas for us to relocate together so that we're stronger together. Because I do think if we continue to stay divided, if we continue to, as we are now, and not really coming together, that we are going to lose this fight. That the New World Order is going to usher in its fucking machine of slavery and exploitation, and we're going to be their slaves or die fighting them. But if we haven't come together and created something that's actually capable of really fighting back, and in the right way too. When I say fighting back, I don't mean just creating some army and then marching out in a field and battling them. No, I think it's going to go back to us developing our own infrastructure, probably in remoter areas. Like, I think a lot of us are going to have to leave the big cities and group up together where we can, and we just all learn from experience. One person may be good at growing vegetables, and herbs. Somebody else might be good at building things. Somebody else may be good with different types of technologies. Somebody else may be good with martial arts. Somebody else may just be with speaking the word. And this, I think music's going to be a huge aspect in all these things. So people that are playing music, all of these different components we can use to help us move to a different point in reality. And we need to start using them. We need to start brainstorming. It's quite simply, we need to work on growing more food. Vertical farm systems is an invention that's already been around. It's already proven to be effective. And there's really no good reason why we aren't utilizing it more to help fucking deal with the upcoming food shortage and the already inflated prices that we're all having to pay for. It just, why not develop, or, on your YouTube, why not just have a particular video or videos or whole collection of videos just focused on that? Like, enough people coming together and growing food. I think that you'd be surprised how many people would be willing and eager to want to join up and start working together to help deal with this food shortage problem, rather than just continue to watch more people talk about more reasons why it's going to continue to get worse. It's crazy. Like, we know what's in front of us, but we're not really doing anything about it. It's like knowing your house is burning and you choosing not to just let it burn. It's like, it's already burning. I kind of didn't like it, even though I don't have any other place to live. I don't know. I kind of just didn't like it. And, maybe I don't feel like, doing all the work necessary to put it out. Part of me would just rather just die. That's kind of the vibe that I got from the things that he said in yesterday's video. And again, my hat goes off to him, because he's done he shared a lot of beautiful things. Even just being him and sharing what he shared, the way that he shared it, is extremely risky, so it takes a great deal of courage to do what he's already done. So I don't want to degrade, him and try to, turn this into some type of a pissing contest or fighting, because that he's not really interested in that either. And I'm not either, man. I'm trying to network and work with people. But, it's like, in a workplace, sometimes you got to have that conversation with your employee that you don't want to have, because it needs to happen. And also that the grass is greener on this side that you're trying to share. And if he's still stuck on the side where the grass isn't growing very well, it's my good duty to help shed light on the different ways of growing the grass so the grass can be greener, and hopefully get him on board with it so that he too can start growing his lawn a little bit greener, So yeah, David, I just hope that, I hope you change your mind, and I hope you start to get more towards a direction of thought and speaking and action that is solution-based. Because that's what's going to be the answer, is us learning to work together and coming up with the right solutions to the right problems, and then just implementing them. And stop paying these governments so much attention. stop paying the things that we don't need in our life so much attention. And I'm still working on this myself, so I'm not somebody who's completely mastered this, but I just know it's what needs to happen if things want to continue to grow well. Because what's continuing to grow now does not look very happy, does not look very healthy, does not look like something I want to be a part of. So we can either just sit back and watch it crumble and fucking, let that be that, or we can decide to do something about it. So, all right, I love you guys. Hope you have a good day, all right? Bye.